Today on the show, we've got a list of 15 things that everyone thinks your church needs on social media.
The truth is, a bunch of them don't matter at all.
So we'll be putting each of these items into categories: necessary, nice to have, or nonsense.
And by the end of today's episode, your church will know exactly what matters on social and what's there just to waste your time.
Let's dive in. Well, hey there and welcome to the Pro Church Tools Show. We're here to help you and your church navigate the biggest communication shift in 500 years. I'm Brady Shearer, your host. I'm joined as always by my co-host. We call him Reverend Randomizer. Back again, it's Alexander Mills.
Hello.
Alex, kick off the format for today's episode.
We've done this format of episode before. We did it last year, the worst church website design trends. That's July of last year. Basically, we take a handful of trends today, 15 trends. I'm going to, as my name is, put them in a randomizer, and then we're going to kind of categorize them by either nonsense, nice to have, or necessary. But it should be said that there may be some nuance, if you will, involved here. So we'll try to, because we could assign all 15. There is some nuance involved in all 15. We'll try to stay away from that. We'll try and keep them in the nonsense, nice to have, or necessary. But just a little disclaimer, there's a little bit of nuance to some of these. So without further ado, I'm going to head over to, what is the website? Random.org. And I'm going to...
Random.org?
Yes.
Wow.
Slash lists. And
Still, good for random.org.
And I'm going to take this list of 15, church social media trends, and I'm going to randomize them.
I saw it. It's happening live.
And they've been randomized. So you do not know what's coming for you.
I don't.
I'm going to cue them up. You're going to hit me with, are these nonsense, nice to have, or is this a necessary design, social media trend? So first and foremost, sprint promotions.
Ooh, sprint promotions. Okay, so two type of S promotions. Both are in the randomizer. I don't know when the next one's coming. You don't know when the next one's coming.
Right.
The first is called a sprint promotion. And this is really timely because on the heels of Easter, that would have been the perfect moment for a sprint promotion to take place. Parameters for a sprint promotion. You can disregard every single rule that you've ever heard me say about social media. Like, hey, the 1 in 5 rule, no more than 1 out of every 5 posts should be promotional in nature.
Forget it.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
So long as, much like a sprint, it's for a limited time. If I ask you to run all out, that will be only possible for you, depending on your age, between 30 seconds to 5 seconds. I don't know.
Yeah.
It is temporary. Sprint promotions allow you to heavily promote something that's going on in your church across all channels, but they have to be done once, twice, 3 times a year max.
All right.
And you have to give ample time between each sprint promotion for your audience to basically
recover.
Exactly. Because it's always a tension, right? There are things that our church wants to talk about, wants to promote, wants people to get involved in, wants people to be aware of, but that's not why people go on social media.
Yeah.
So if we hold those two things in our hands, 1, we have an objective for social. 2, users have an objective for social, and they are oil and water.
Yeah.
They don't mix. How do we thread that needle? The other type of promotion we'll get to is what you would use outside of the sprint promotion realm of time.
Okay.
So when would you use a sprint promotion? Obviously, cornerstone events like Easter, like Christmas, a bridge event perhaps. So those are the events like, trunk or treat, the types of big community events. I think they're also...
Well, there's 3 right there. And you said, reserve these for 2, maybe 3. So it's like, if you're going to use them for Christmas and Easter, which you probably are, those are the cornerstone events of the church year. You usually only have about 1 more there to play with. So whether it's fall festival or maybe if you do like a summer event like we do at VBS. Yeah. So there's really not a whole lot of wiggle room because 2 of them traditionally are spoken for with Christmas and Easter.
Yeah. And we'll get to the other type of promotion if you're like, wow,
you can still promote other things.
Really put me in a box here, Braid. Nothing I can do. So I would put sprint promotions in the nice to have category because the reality is promoting is not why people go on social. So it would actually be superior and ideal to never promote in a heavy-handed way. And you would just never see a dip in your audience engagement because what will happen in a sprint promotion is eventually people will be like, yeah, we've heard about it.
Yeah.
People will still be seeing you might publish a post and it's like number 9 on this event. And there will be people that see it for the first time, and that will be worth it. There will be another group of people that have seen 6 others and, okay, enough is enough.
And they won't engage with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Which then you'll probably see a dip after a sprint promotion. So long as it's done infrequently and there's enough time in between, you'll always recover. So nice to have. I think most churches, if not every, is going to do this, but it's not necessary. You could have.
Right. Easter and Christmas are still going to be your probably your most attended services of the year, even if you don't promote them.
One more time, a sprint promotion might be necessary. Something like service times are changing. You're like, look, we're changing from 2 to 3 services, and now it's not 9 and 11. It's like 9:30 and 11:15 or something, and 12:45, whatever it is. And you're like, we have to make sure people know. And so then, okay, you used up one of your sprint promotions. Great. Christ has not risen this year. Okay. At least you can't tell people too much about it.
Yes. Whatever you do, don't use your sprint promotion, equity on the time change, the seasonal time change. Please do not.
Yeah, it used to be that churches were using their sprint promotions on daylight savings time. Yeah. Thankfully, phones change automatically.
Yes. All right, next one. Facebook groups.
Facebook groups. I'm going to put this in the necessary category.
Nice.
With a small caveat. That caveat being, there are facsimiles for Facebook groups. So if your audience is not already congregated on Facebook, then perhaps an Instagram broadcast channel or perhaps a WhatsApp group, depending on your church's demographic and size. The reason I would put Facebook groups in the necessary category is that they are a place where people can congregate online in a private space. That is distinct from a Facebook page, from an Instagram profile, from any of these other platforms where not only are you engaging your congregation, but presumably, ideally, you are introducing your church to new people that have no experience with your ministry. Whereas a Facebook group becomes a locked down space. I think that space is necessary for every church online. If you look at a Facebook group and you say, actually, we'd prefer to do it in this other avenue instead, but by all means, that just becomes the facsimile for the Facebook group.
Sure. So necessary to have a digital kind of congregational space that is not entirely public. Facebook groups probably being the most popular or common, or Facebook maybe being the most popular social platform, but it doesn't have to be a Facebook group is what you're saying.
Correct.
Cool. All right, next one, consistency.
I mean, what's above necessary?
Yes.
The consistent publishing calendar. So necessary on social that we will recommend to churches, if a lot of your content is based in sermons, work on a week's delay with your calendar. Because the last thing that you want is, the edits are getting done later in a week.
That's a really smart tip.
Revisions are getting done later in a week. And now suddenly it's Thursday, it's Friday, and you're like, we have 4 posts. We got to get it all out before next Sunday because we don't want to be behind. No. A consistent publishing calendar is so important. And we do this with every single church that we work with at socialsermons.com. I say it to them on every intro call. Like what I'm saying right now, I'm so used to saying, because I say it like it feels like a script at this point.
Yeah.
Like, by the way, we're going to operate on a week's delay. And that way, we are in control. Every Monday, it's this type of post. Every Tuesday, it's this type of post. And if revisions go long, if you send in your sermon late, that's not going to disrupt this.
Yeah.
Because that no weeks off rhythm
That's
is
good.
the singular non-negotiable of social. And so not only is this necessary, but you can take quote unquote extreme measures to keep it necessary. Everything else can be subservient to the consistent publishing calendar. That's what makes a difference.
And you just said it. You used the phrase "no weeks off," which we've talked about at length on the show. But just in case someone's hearing this for the first time, consistency in this present age of social media, the discovery era, doesn't look like posting every single day anymore. That was a recommendation. That was a general accepted practice years ago in a different era, different algorithms. But today, it doesn't look like posting every single day. It means showing up every single week. So you can take days off, but you cannot take weeks off. That's what consistency ought to look like for your church, at least this year on social media.
Let the social media managers rejoice.
Okay, number 4, photography of church life.
Photography of church life. I'm going to put this in the necessary category.
Another one.
Yeah, another necessary. I think the value of photography is it can communicate in an instant what the culture and essence of your church is like.
Yeah.
Words, paragraphs worth of text could not do that.
And nobody's, frankly, if your church website is your virtual front door, most people are going to be interacting with your church for the first time online before they're meeting you in person. Their impressions of what your church culture is like, the impression they're forming, is happening in an instant. Google says it's happening in 0.05 seconds. We're talking about milliseconds here. And it's not happening by reading paragraphs worth of text, which are valuable and can tell the story of your church and your culture. But the most effective way to communicate what you're all about and to inspire a good feeling when somebody lands on your church website for the first time, it's real photos of real people from your real church.
There's only 2 types of content on social that I would put in the necessary bucket. We're going to get to one of the other ones at some point in this list. The first one is photography. And that is because the church is the people.
Yeah.
And there's no substitution for showing what your church is than the people. And what's also true is that what makes your church unique is the people and the building that you meet in. There's no other church that has that combination. And so having that be front and center on social media is absolutely necessary. The good news is you no longer need expensive gear or even very high level editing skills to do this. Go check out our YouTube video, the Church Smartphone Photography Masterclass. I visit churches with my phone only, and I show you how to take photos, best settings on your phone, shot lists that you can follow step by step, and then we'll edit the photos if you want, because hey, it's very on trend right now and will be for years to come, just using photos as they're taken in the phone. If you want to make edits, if you're a millennial, if you want to make things a little bit more cinematic and add some style and flair, then we can do that in post-production as well. And we go through that entire process. It's all free on YouTube. So this used to be a thing where it wasn't accessible for every church. That's no longer true. So that's even better, because if we're going to say it's necessary, how do we make it possible? Both are true these days.
Yeah, that's great news. Okay, this next one, number 5, it's trendy. If you're on social, you've probably encountered it recently, DM automation.
This is going to be nice to have. It is absolutely not necessary. Unlike distribution on social and publishing on social, it's not free. Right. Or if you get to a certain level of like customization and what you want with it, it may not become free.
Yeah.
ManyChat.com is the tool that we use for this. They do have a free plan up to a certain number of contacts, and then there are certain features that are not enabled. I think it was wrong of me to say it has to cost money. That's not necessarily true.
Right.
You can use the free plan only. But you know, this is like one nice thing that you can do on social. Let's say you have a sermon clip, and the sermon subject matter has to do with purpose. You know, and you talk about like life and things are getting tough, and then you talk about the wisdom of Scripture and how it speaks to these things. We can put on the screen at the end, comment life, and we'll send you the full sermon. And this is a really nice to have feature, because what it does is it can take someone that is experiencing your church's content on a really shallow level or on a really introductory level, if we don't want to use the word shallow, and it can then move them into a greater depth of relationship with your church. Perhaps they watched through the full sermon. Now they're more likely to check out the website and plan a visit or subscribe, and now they're following every single week. Maybe they become a person that even far from you is following the sermon every week. You know, that translates to giving or being part of an online small group or getting any type of pastoral care from the church. Like, so the idea of moving someone from introduction to a greater level of depth has value. But DM automation, it is a nice to have. If it's not something that you're currently working with, hey, consider experimenting. We have videos on that you can check out. Look for on YouTube the video, stop saying link in bio.
Right.
Because this is kind of the replacement for that. But yes, nice to have.
Yeah. All right, moving on. I'm eager to hear what you have to say about this one. Skit Reels.
Ooh, okay.
Speaking of trendy.
I said that there were 2 types of content that were necessary on social for churches. Let's define what Skit Reels are first. Okay. That was the best terminology I could think of to come up with like a phrase that encapsulates all of these types of social posts. They really became popular, I think, for the first time last summer, when there would be videos of like a person getting hit by a car, and then right as they're about to like get hit by a car, it like cuts to the pastor and they're like, "Why don't you come to church on Sunday?" And what happened with these types of reels is, first, they were incredibly popular.
Yeah.
And the metrics on these were out of this world. From there, they became incredibly popular for churches to make.
Yeah.
And I will go now through, in like 1 year's time, it's been a year, I'll go through my Reels tab on Instagram, and all it is Skit Reels from churches over and over and over again. You'll go to their page, not a huge church, not a huge following, but they had like 1, 2, 3 of these posts pop off. They're monstrous views. And because the feedback was so good, they became more entrenched in the social calendar of churches, to the point where it's like most of what churches are doing in a lot of cases. These are nice to have. These are not necessary.
Okay.
Let's talk about why this type of post is not in my necessary category. The reality of these posts is that the performance you're seeing is circulation within the Christian subculture. And what these posts are not doing is crossing over into your geographic location and introducing your church to people that are far from God. That doesn't mean they don't have value. It doesn't mean that they don't have merit, but it is an asterisk next to the giant numbers because it will likely not translate to more people discovering and attending your church. So the value then is, hey, what this does is it like creates great moments for the saints that are scattered in the 167 hours beyond Sunday service. And they're like, hey, that's my church. We're doing great creative work. The other caveat, though, is that this type of content takes a lot of time to produce. So it often comes at the expense of the content that we're going to hit on as like the two necessary pieces. So as I'll say, when we reveal the other necessary type of social content, if you're doing that and you're doing photography, or if you want to use Skit Reels to take the place of photography, that's fine with me because they still show like the church. And there are so many great versions of this. They're not always like funny. One that's really popular right now is churches that will set up a camera. It can just be a phone or a microphone with a prompt on like a piece of paper printed out. So you'll tape the piece of paper to the back of the phone and it'll say like, show us how excited you are for church today. Or there'll be a microphone and say like, talk about how God's working in your life right now. And then you piece all these things together.
Supercut,
Wonderful, wonderful. It's still only going to be valuable or accessible, not even accessible, relevant for people that are connected to your church or connected to faith. The type of content that I say is necessary for churches is the type of content that is relevant to people connected to faith and connected to your church and equally as relevant to people that are far from God, irrespective of faith background. That's kind of the sweet spot because what it means is any effort you put into it is never wasted. It is possible for all people to see. And when you have a piece of content there that hits, what it does is the people in your church are hearing from the wisdom of Scripture. The people that are outside the church are hearing from the wisdom of Scripture. And people that are local to your church are being introduced to your church for the very first time. Not all of those things are happening with the Skit Reels. What's happening with the Skit Reels is people in your church are like, that's awesome. I love it. And then people outside of the church like me are like, ooh, interesting. Maybe my church should do that too. And so I just want that to be calculated into the metrics when we see them. And I don't want us to like put too much stock in these posts just from the numbers that we see.
Yeah, they don't exactly find themselves at the intersection of faith and culture in a way that some other posts, and we're going to get to an example of another post, some other posts do. Just quickly, for folks who are maybe hearing about this for the first time or who feel like, oh yeah, I do have a little bit of bandwidth, like I would like to explore doing Skit Reels, like where would they get the inspiration for some Skit Reels that have already existed? Maybe they want to like piggyback off of the trend. Like, how do you get into that ecosystem to find the currently trending skits?
Yeah, it's probably pretty easy. All you have to do is go to Instagram, go to your Reels tab, and like if you follow any creators or any accounts that are like in the Christian world, so like if you follow like Forrest Frank, let's say. Like you're going to put yourself, you follow a couple preachers, like you're going to put yourself in that space. And what'll happen is, I just did this week actually, because I was like wanting to see more of these, because I should say they're extremely well done. A lot of them are really funny. A lot of them are like really substantive and valuable. So like, I'm not trying to take away from them at all, just saying they're not necessary because of the distribution they have and the time it takes to make them. All you have to do is like one.
Yeah, and then watch your Explore feed transform.
Absolutely. And
then you'll never get out.
And there's so many ideas. I actually had to like start saying not interested because suddenly I wasn't getting anything on like color grading anymore. I was like, no, I need a varied diet Instagram.
Yeah, totally. All right, moving on. What about Meta Verified?
Meta Verified. I'm going to put this in the nice to have category.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not nonsense. Like I got it a couple of years ago when it came out.
Yeah.
And this might be correlation and not causation, but we have seen like the account grow in pretty dramatic ways since that happened. Now, it's not available to every single account. I think I just got the notification on our backup account that like, hey, Meta Verified is now available for you as an organization. Because at first it was like people only.
Sure.
Meta Verified is the service, costs money, and it is not cheap. I mean, it's like $20 a month or $15 a month, and that's like per platform. So if you wanted it on both Facebook and Instagram, you might be close to like, $30 or $40 a month. It'll give you the check mark. It will give you, I think, they kind of have waffled on this, but like, I'm pretty sure it gives you more reach.
Yeah.
It'll also give you a direct line to Meta support. And I got a DM last week from a church and they were like, we lost like our account and it's not fair. What do we do?
Yeah.
Like, do you have a contact you can share? And I was like, no. Really the only option is having Meta verified kind of before that happens. So like,
It's like an insurance policy almost.
Yeah. And so like, if you think about just those three things, okay, would it be worth it? If I ever need to contact Meta, would that be that would be a good reason to have it? Would I want extra reach? Yeah, that would be a good reason to have it. Do I want that like blue check mark? That would be a good reason to have it. Like, they might be persuasive to you in different ways, and it's not necessary, but it is not nonsense, and it's certainly nice to have.
All right. I expected you to say nonsense.
I mean, it's nice to have for me. I like it.
Okay, next one, bit of like a, not a hot topic, but I find churches kind of fumbling this one a little bit, not knowing what to do, so I'm glad you're going to speak to it. Church accounts following and engaging with others.
Ooh, okay. Have I said ooh to every single one so
I don't
far?
think so.
Okay. I'm going to try not to. It's like, you're the one that came
You
up
made
with
the
this.
list, yeah.
Like, oh, what a great prompt. Heck, I'm going to put this as necessary.
Oh!
This is low cost, low effort, potential high upside.
Okay.
And that's why it's going to be necessary. I was kind of back and forth between nice to have and necessary. It just doesn't cost you anything.
Right.
If a person follows you, these are the parameters for doing this. If a person follows you and you know them and they attend your church, you can follow them back.
Okay.
Do not follow someone from your church that does not follow you. Strange behavior.
Okay.
Do not follow someone that follows you who you do not know.
Right.
Even if you're like, I think I've seen, no,
Not worth
don't,
it.
nope. Did you see Love is Blind season 7? Okay, like it's not worth it.
Local businesses.
That's the other one.
Yeah.
And they don't have to follow you.
Right.
Your church, oh, I'm going to follow the Mexican restaurant. I'm going to follow the realtor who has like the billboards everywhere. I'm going to follow like the radio station that's local. I'm going to follow like, don't follow the schools. Okay. Like
Right.
that's
Yeah, stay away from the
from that.
schools.
But any of the local establishments, this will cost you nothing. But what it will do is it will signal, hey, this church is part of the community,
Yes.
which is of value for every single church. It will get you on the radar for the realtor and the Mexican restaurant and whatever it is, right? And so like, let's say it's if I was a church, I would follow Counterpart Brewing.
Yeah.
Maybe not because they're a brewery. I guess I don't know.
It depends what kind of church you are.
Right. The pizza place below us, owned
Yes,
by the same
Counterpart,
company,
nice.
Counterpie,
Yeah.
I would follow the pizza place. And then, guess what? I go to that pizza place all the time.
Yes.
At some point, someone's gonna ask you, "Oh, Brady," they're gonna, "Oh, where are you from?" "Oh, I'm from this church." "Oh, yeah, I've seen you."
Yeah.
Those types of things. The 7 rules of the 7 touch
Yes.
points of marketing. Like it's always just like it takes 7 touch points before somebody's willing to like engage with a brand or make a decision. Like all these little things matter. They cost nothing.
Right.
You'll follow someone one time, and then you see like we got a new pizza special. Double tap and keep rolling. Like
Yes.
those type of things make a difference. They keep you on the radar on the front. Why do people put up billboards? I'm not going to buy or sell a house, like, right? But I see, oh, Tim sells homes, Okay, great. Maybe when I'm ready, I'm going to check out Tim. This is that for free.
Yes.
Don't have to spend $5,000 on the billboard.
Yeah.
And then you are on the mind of people and you just, comment, pizza emoji, like nothing. And I think every church should be in the practice of doing this, no cost. And, there's really no downside aside from following inappropriate accounts.
Yeah, don't be weird about it.
Don't be weird about it. So follow the parameters, you'll be set.
All right, good stuff. Okay, we're finally to it, the second type of promotion. We talked about sprint promotions off the top. What about sprinkle promotions?
Sprinkle promotions. So a sprinkle promotion is the icing on the cake, the sprinkles on top of the sundae. It's not the substance of the post. It's the sprinkle promotion that comes at the end. A sprinkle promotion can be done indefinitely. You could publish every single piece of content on social with a sprinkle promotion at the end. So a great example of a sprinkle promotion is one of these skit reels that is really funny. But it is like, and then come to worship night or whatever. So like you laugh and you chuckle, and then you see the church is promoting worship night.
Yeah.
I don't know if I said this one. The one that really got me the other day was there was a prompt. It was just like a black screen. And it said like blow on the screen, like 3, 2, 1, and it cuts to a church staff member holding a sign that says like worship night is next Sunday. and they put a giant fan on them. And it was like, I'm blowing their
so
hair
good.
back.
I
And then it
haven't
went
seen
to the
that.
next staff
Yeah.
member and the next staff member. And I was like, this is a church that is promoting worship night that I'm not going to attend, but like, this is hilarious. And that's a sprinkle promotion because the value of the post was it made me laugh.
Yeah.
And then at the end, oh, by the way, we have worship night. You can do this indefinitely. A sermon reel with DM automation at the end, that's a sprinkle
Right.
promotion because you're saying, oh, by the way, if you want to listen to the full sermon, comment life and we'll send it to you. So sprinkle promotions are necessary because I have yet to meet a church that has said, yet to meet a creator of any kind. It's like, yeah, we have no desire to promote whatsoever. So could you do it in such a way where there's no cost and no downside at all? Yes, a sprinkle promotion. When done well, when done properly, it will never, ever, ever derail, hurt, affect your social media momentum in any way.
Yeah.
Whereas a sprint promotion, like sometimes you have to weigh the cost of it.
Yeah.
Like for most churches, it's worth it a couple of times a year, but like we don't do sprint promotions twice a year, every year. Sometimes I'm like, we need like an extended like 6 to 8 month period if we've come out of a heavy promo period where it's like we just need to like recover all that momentum and build up kind of that engagement and attention, and then we'll kind of return to promote. So necessary sprinkle promotions, sprint promotions, nice to have. You put those two together and you have the ammo and the tools at your disposal to promote whatever you want, whenever you want, in ways where people will engage and take next steps.
And that really is the secret. It's not nefarious in any way unless it's incongruent with the post itself, but it's not nefarious in any way to sneak a little promotion into the end of a post, whether it's the last slide on a carousel or the end of a skit reel. It's just an effective means of talking about what you need to talk about at church without overwhelming your audience. Years ago, we did this case study of, I forget how many church social media accounts we studied, but the best performing church social media accounts, we came up with this rule out of the data called the 1 in 5 rule, which is no more than 1 in 5 of your posts should be promotional in nature. So about 20% of your posts or less should be promotional in nature. And I think the sprinkle promotion strategy kind of like sidesteps that a little bit, because you could post every day and the post could have value, and at the very end, or even if you tuck it into the caption, doesn't even have to be in the post at all. We have weekly prayer at our church every Thursday. Like, we want people to come out to pray, but I can't be posting every Wednesday, hey, we got prayer tomorrow. Hey, we got prayer tomorrow. So instead, on Wednesdays or Thursdays, I'll do a carousel post of a guided prayer. Every week, it's a different guided prayer, whether it's the Jesus prayer or a prayer for spring or a blessing for Easter or whatever. And the last slide of that carousel, hey, we pray on Thursdays. Right? You just sneak it in there. It's not disingenuous. It's congruent. It's not incongruent. It's not offending anyone, and it's not costing any of the kind of social trust that I have with the audience. I'm not making a withdrawal from their trust or attention by sneaking that in there.
Every single carousel on my Instagram is a sprinkle promotion.
Right.
Either, like from today's carousel, at the end I'll say, comment this, and I'll send you the full YouTube video, because I'll take our YouTube videos and I will repurpose them into a carousel. So like the first 10 slides are like learn, teach,
Yes,
teach.
it's all valuable content. You could consume the carousel and like it could be enough.
Nobody's mad on slide 11 where I'm like, did you want this in greater depth? I'll give you a free video. Oh, come on. No. It doesn't bother anyone.
Yeah.
And what it does is our YouTube channel has seen like a like uptick because people are coming from Instagram and now they're moving over to YouTube. On carousels where I don't have one, so the day before it was talking about plants on stage, there was no like video at the end. By the way, here's how to water your plants, YouTube video tutorial. There wasn't anything like that. All it said was, the final slide was, hey, I'm Brady. I don't know if you know me. Picture of me. If you like this post, save it, share it, follow.
Yeah.
That's a promotion. I'm saying, do something that you don't want to do that I want you to do.
Yes.
No one gets, again, mad. Like, ooh, plant. No! His face! Indefinite promotions at no cost.
Very good. All right, number 10. Coming into the home stretch here.
Have we had any nonsense things?
No, but I'm curious about this one.
Oh, this is the one I can tell.
What about hashtags?
Nonsense.
Thank you.
Get a hashtag out of here.
And that's not even Brady's sheer opinion. That comes from the head of the company himself, Adam Asseri. Hashtags, get him out of here.
They used to matter because we had these non-sophisticated ways of distributing content.
That was the way.
What is this post about? Hashtag tech. Oh, thank God.
Hashtag pizza. Oh, I'm really glad.
I
couldn't see it.
This robot was lost. Yeah, now like every single word you say is being automatically transcribed. You don't need to go, oh, by the way, hashtag this. Yeah. Now, if you go to my post, will you see hashtags? Yes. because there's really no downside to adding them.
Sure.
But I have gone into the analytics and like our best performing posts have had like 3% of your reach was from hashtags. And that's like 1 out of every 10 posts. So like, I think there are some days where I'm like, I'm not putting a hashtag in.
Yeah.
And there are some days where I'm like, well, if 10% of my posts have a 3% hashtag distribution, that means like 18 people.
You're doing the math, yeah.
Like 18 people is 18 people, you
So
know? Like,
hashtag botany on your last plant post.
But that I have 140,000 and every post is hitting like 50 to 100,000 people. So like for a church, if you do that same math, it might be like, oh yeah, we're talking about 1/4 of a human, 1/4 of an account. Like, okay, just then ditch the hashtags. It's not worth it. Nonsense.
I don't even know. How are the 3%, how are they coming to your post via hashtags? Are they clicking on a hashtag from another post and then seeing those posts? Like, I don't even know how they work on the platform anymore because the algorithm is just like so far ahead of my consciousness, basically.
Okay, let's go to like so carousel from a month ago. Church lobby design, I'm obsessed with. 6,000 likes, 187,000 views. Insights. How many people of the 187,000, of which 45% were non-followers, came from hashtags? And I don't see...
They won't even show you.
Like half and this
doesn't matter.
This is the problem. I would check a bunch, and sometimes it would say where they came from.
Instagram's like a hashtag? A hash what?
A tag? A hash? What? Accounts engaged, profile activity, boost this post. So they might have removed it entirely. At which point, like, this is me in live time saying like, okay, I might never do it. No, because then I'm going to like,
Have you been doing it on every post? What do you do? 3 hashtags or something?
Yeah, I would say like 75% of posts. Okay. They're always the same hashtags.
Yeah.
Oh, who's this Brady guy? I've never seen him before. Like, oh, Church Tech. I've been following this for years. I've never seen this.
Yes.
Yeah, like, okay. So call out the hypocrisy in your own life, Brady. They're nonsense. Let it go. It's over.
Okay, this next one's not nonsense. It's sermon reels.
Okay. So photography and sermon reels. The 2 types of social media content that I would deem necessary for every church. Social media has 2 axes. There's depth and there's width. Width, that's sermon reels. We discussed this when we were talking about skit reels. Sermon reels, when the wisdom of Scripture is repurposed, we always say the wisdom of Scripture, it's for all people for all time. When it is repurposed and repackaged in a way where it intersects with both faith and culture, it is just as relevant to people that know God and know your church as it is to people that don't know God and don't know your church. What that means is the potential reach is all humans. So that's why sermon reels are the bedrock of any social media strategy. And we see this when we look at the analytics for the churches that we work with. I'll go in, we'll do a 90-day review, and we'll look at the posts that have been reaching far and wide. And we'll see something like, oh, there was a 30-second clip of you doing worship on a Sunday morning, and it had huge numbers, but it will have had no shares. It will have had no broad reach beyond people within the church space or within the actual church like this. And then we'll see a sermon reel, and usually it has more views, more impressions, more reach, but sometimes it doesn't. Let's say it's not the highest performing post that month, it's like number 3 or 4. And then you'll rank by shares, and it will have 10 times as many shares as any other post. Talking about Adam Mosseri, he has said publicly, head of Instagram, the most important metric is sends, aka shares. Why? Because that is you as a human putting your stamp of endorsement on a post and sending it directly to an individual or to a group. It's one thing for a post to land on your feed and Instagram to say, I think you'll like this.
Yeah.
It is something different when a person you are in relationship with, in your sphere of influence, in your network of humans, says, I think you'd like this. It's digital evangelism. It's saying, hey, this is a way of articulating or talking about Scripture, Jesus, and the Christian life that I think is actually really compelling, and maybe it'll help you understand something in a new way. Or maybe this will be encouraging for you. Or maybe this will be like the answer. You've been trying to figure out something in your life. This might give you the discernment and clarity that you need. I understand that sermon reels like are a dime a dozen in the sense that like we all do them. And you might look at a skit reel and think like, now that's creative, that's novel. But I just want to emphasize, we have looked at all the numbers anecdotally, just on my own feed as I peruse it, and then with the 150 plus churches that we work with and the thousands of posts that we publish, the sermon reels have the highest upside, and they have the highest correlation to effectiveness and mission and vision and purpose of church. So like every Tuesday and every Thursday, it's sermon reel time for us. Non-negotiable. Could that change in the future? Sure. And there are always ways of packaging something that can make it feel fresh.
Yeah.
But what have we been doing since the history of church began? Someone gets up there and says, this is what the Bible says. So long as we're on social, that's what we're going to be doing here as well.
Yeah.
And the sermon and the skit reels, like those will probably not last as long as us taking the sermon and repurposing it for social media. The other thing about sermon reels and how great they are is that they are baked into the rhythm of church. They do not have this high requirement of time and energy. You don't have to like go through reels and be like, okay, which one am I going to do this week? Oh, this one where the church flips up a chair and it lands on this guy's head, and then
so good.
a piece of a parchment rolls down and says, "New service time." It's like, we're not going to do that. Our senior leadership is already creating sermons every single week. All we have to do is repurpose it for social. So it has the highest upside, and in terms of like time, and we have to come up with ideas, the lowest. You just can't beat that. So that is width. And then depth, that's the photos of people in your church.
Yeah.
Not going to reach wide, not going to like come across my feed because I don't know those people.
Yeah.
But the people that do attend your church, they see that. They're like, yes, I have a church family outside of wherever I'm viewing this on my phone right now. And if you want to substitute skit reels for photography, like I said, I think that's totally fine. There's a much higher upside of like time and energy commitment there. But I think those videos are also like probably better than just a still photo in some sense. The great thing about still photos, though, speaking of sprinkle promotions, is you can just have like, let's say VBS is coming up and you're like, we wasted our sprint promotion on new service times last month. What are we gonna do now? Okay, great. A carousel of photos from last year's VBS. Great. Everyone in church loves to see that. Oh, look, kids, fun. They're having fun. They're learning about Jesus. Oh, water gun day. So fun. And then the caption just says, by the way, VBS registration is now open. Head to our website or comment VBS, and we'll send you the link.
That is a word of urgency, I think, to all the churches listening. And I'm thinking about my church, which is, a church of 65, 75 people, the average church size in America. And we don't film our services. We don't even publish the podcast anymore for reasons. But the way you talk about sermon reels, the way we talk about sermon reels, and the impact that we're seeing them have, again, not just on the existing congregation of a church, but we're talking wide here. We're talking like really broad impact, global impact, because these pieces of content, because the best sermons are finding themselves right at the intersection of faith and culture, talking about the most important truths, the things we're all wrestling with. It is kind of a word to churches who aren't yet filming their services, and appeal to like, hey, maybe you don't need to be publishing on YouTube. Maybe you don't need to be filming for that reason, but maybe you do need to be filming your services for this reason, because the opportunity is so ripe. Now, for churches like ours who aren't currently filming, that doesn't mean that you can't take that piece of content that your senior leader is producing every week and repurpose it for social. We've created a strategy for that using carousel posts, and so we'll take kind of a big idea or the 3 points or whatever and turn it into a carousel that week to kind of achieve the same thing. It's like, okay, that really important piece of content high quality content has been created. Let's take a little portion of it and repurpose it for social. So you don't have to be completely without, but it is like a word of urgency for churches maybe who aren't yet filming their services. They're like, this is such a rich opportunity to reach people with the greatest story ever told. Maybe there's a bit of responsibility we have there. So I think that's a word. Okay, we got 3 left. We got 4 left. We're going to have 3 left after this one. We got 4 left. Social accounts for different ministries.
Nonsense!
All right.
Okay, I mean, it depends on what type of church you are.
A little bit of nuance,
We have
maybe?
a rule of thumb here. No. And you know why we hate nuance? Is like, I hate the it depends answer. Like, the it depends answer is a valid answer every single time, which means it's never useful.
Nuance is nonsense.
Yeah. There is no nuance in nuance, apparently, if you are Brady Shearer. So, social accounts for other ministries. The rule of thumb we have for this is this. If a ministry has its own worship service, it could qualify for its own social accounts. And we'll get to that. Could being the operative term. So, men's ministry, regular worship service. Right. Not like, once a year we get together. Yeah. Women's ministry, no. Kids ministry, probably not. The only one might be the youth ministry. Right. Just because it would qualify, then does not mean it needs one, because then you need to evaluate, okay, if no weeks off is the singular non-negotiable of social, are we able to sustain this content production for both accounts indefinitely? Very few churches are able to sustain a single account on its own indefinitely.
Yeah.
So it's very unlikely for most churches listening that they could do 2. If you are going to do multiple, it's really got to only be for the youth night, youth ministry, or any ministry that has its own worship service. So like maybe young adults, depending on the size of church that you are. But most churches just focusing on one is ideal.
And when you focus on one, you consolidate all of the content to one account. It just gives you more opportunity for high quality content on that account.
So and I could probably touch briefly on multi-campus as well because it kind of extends here. The rule that we have for multi-campus is like if you are one church, multiple locations, then like there is a spectrum of multi-site, right? The closer you are to autonomous churches, the more reason to have autonomous social accounts. But the more you're like on the side of like one church, multiple locations, if you're doing simulcast, if you're doing any type of like, again, if it's not its own worship service, it would not qualify. So that same rule can extend to multi-site.
That's good. We actually just had someone write into our email account this week asking that very question. So
it's one of those questions that gets sent in to DMs and email all the time because it's not answered on like the main pages.
Yeah.
But that's because like it doesn't apply to most people. So you have like 5% of people that are like, you've never talked about this. And I'm like, yeah, it's because if I post about it.
But for churches in that situation, it's like, well,
what do we do?
Yeah, we need to know. All right, what about ideal post timing? What do we do there?
That's nonsense too.
All right. Nice.
Yeah, it's funny because this is just like hashtags. Every quarter, twice a year, I will publish a carousel. Best times to post on social for churches. And everyone's like, finally. We always say, repeat the best, forget the rest, continue to test.
Yeah.
I can't quit the best social times carousel because no matter when, the entire carousel is dedicated to, we ran a report on all the churches that we work with, and here were the ideal publishing times. And then every other slide is, but it doesn't matter, and here's why. And I don't know if people are liking the post because they're like, great point, timing doesn't matter. I don't think that's why. I think they're liking it because they're like, perfect.
He's going to tell me exactly
when to
what
publish.
Time to post.
So post timing does not make any difference at all. Why? Because this discovery era of social will show the post to the people that need to see it.
Yeah.
And the lifespan for a social post is many days, even up to months at this point. So it doesn't matter. In the previous era, you had to publish because, okay, I know most of my followers are online between 9 and 10 a.m. So I have to publish because the lifespan of this post is 48 hours. So if I don't publish it within a window of activity, I'm going to miss the first 24 hours and then this post will have no hope. That doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. So this used to have merit behind the idea. It does not matter anymore. Now, don't post at 2 a.m.
Right.
You're awake at a time. You're awake. Post when you're awake.
Yeah. You know what's so funny about this? I was scheduling some posts using the the Meta Business Manager the other day for church. And they... on the calendar, they're like highlighting time slots where my followers are most active, as if they don't know that this doesn't matter.
It's because everybody likes it.
Yeah.
And like, could you see maybe like a small increase? Like one thing I do practice is I publish at the same time every day. Like I publish between
in the morning,
9 and 10 Eastern America's time every day. And that speaks to the consistent publishing calendar.
Yeah.
I have no reason to think that 9 to 10 a.m. is the ideal time. That's just when I publish. Because like we have a worldwide audience.
Yeah.
Like huge amounts of people are asleep at that time.
Yes. And so they're still going to see the post.
Right. Yeah. Then they'll still see it. I'll wake up and, oh, look, many more likes and comments because people that were asleep are now awake while I am asleep.
Yeah. All right, got 2 left.
All right.
You think churches should have an X account?
Oh. Okay, so an X account for a church is nonsense.
All right.
Not because of all the, the dialogue happening related to X and his founder. I have never seen a church account that excels on X. The accounts related to church that excel on Twitter X are the ones where a pastor has their own account and they are personally passionate about that platform. Yes. So there are pastors like, Furtick has an X account. It's not like, it doesn't do well relative to what you would expect from Furtick because it's not him. He doesn't care about that platform. I can tell it's not, he's just repurposing content from elsewhere and it doesn't perform well. And then there are pastors, let's say like Derwin Gray or Rich Velotis, who like historically have been active on the platform. And you can tell they like Twitter X.
Yes.
Have some moved on? I think so. But like, I could tell that was them. And they did great.
Yes.
Because they cared about it. Does your pastor care about X? If so, he's probably on it already.
Yeah, exactly.
She's probably on it. We don't need to talk about this. And if not, then don't worry about it.
Yeah.
There's really nothing to gain. we talk to churches like, hey, be on another platform.
Yeah.
Because like, who knows? We know on X.
Yes.
Don't spend your time there.
All right, last one, number 15. Should churches have a Substack account? No.
Oh, wow.
Should churches have a TikTok or Threads account?
So it's kind of funny how those two ended up.
I know.
The randomizer. Is it really random? So unlike Twitter X, we have seen churches be active on Threads, be active on TikTok, and they're already making content, let's say, for Instagram Reels, for Facebook Reels, publish on TikTok. And then the church will come back and be like, wow, we have people come to our church. They say, we found you on TikTok. It's like, great, okay. That potential exists on Threads and Twitter, Threads and TikTok. So if you're already making content and it makes sense to be repurposed on one of those platforms, then by all means, create an account. And what's the downside? You're not making new content, fresh content for that platform, presumably, and perhaps you'll reach an audience there that you wouldn't otherwise. We can never predict which platform will resonate for a church. They might not be a young church, and yet they'll still have content on TikTok that performs.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, as far as like reaching a new audience, let me see if I can find an example here, but I've noticed as of late, Instagram, which is traditionally as far as the stratification of social platforms go, it's the millennial platform. Instagram has been inserting threads into my feed that, for the most part, are not people that I already follow on Threads, but the content has been very relevant to me.
Discovery.
So I have found myself, I haven't found one here yet just by scrolling for a moment.
No, I've seen them too. They're not that common.
Yes, but I have found myself clicking through almost subconsciously. It's like, and because I like that type of platform, I spent a lot of time on Twitter X, Substack, not as much on Thread, sometime on Blue Sky. I like that text post platform. Yep. And so it'll happen subconsciously. I'm scrolling through basically ads on Instagram because that's what the feed is now. And I'll see a thread and it'll
that is in its way an ad.
Yes, it'll catch my attention. It's usually someone that I'm not already connected to. I click through it basically subconsciously. And now I have been exposed to a new person who's talking about something that I'm already interested in. So that, because the platforms belong to each other, Threads and Instagram, all belonging to Meta, that avenue that they've created in the feed has kind of increased my discovery and my engagement on Threads. So I do see an opportunity there for churches, but it requires that somebody on your team, maybe your pastor, whoever, has the voice required for a text platform like that, albeit Twitter X, Blue Sky, Threads.
So I published that plant carousel on Instagram. As of right now, it's got like 3,000 plus likes. I repurposed it so that it was within 500 characters, which is right now the limit on Threads. And I published it, and it got, 300 likes on Threads. I have 25,000 followers on Threads, 150-ish on Instagram. So like it got 10 times fewer likes on a platform that has 6 times fewer followers. So you could look at that and you say, okay, that it's not performing as well. But then, like, I found all these people that started following me from that. And, it was like, let's say like a dozen people that started following me from that new post. Like, Threads, taking cues from Instagram, does have an element of discovery. Twitter X does not have that. Twitter X, like, is all just engagement farming. Like, it's very difficult to have a post that, like, reaches the audience that you want. Yeah. Their algorithm is not sophisticated like that in the way that Instagram's is, and because of that, the way that Threads is. So, and then TikTok, of course, is great at introducing people. So, definitely worth trying out. It took me 30 seconds to repurpose that carousel into a thread. So, worth your time.
There you go. 15. We made it.
We're hopefully also,
and we stayed away from nuance.
That's right. It's been, no, there are black and white, no gray for social on the Pro Church Tools Show. And we'll be back at it again next Wednesday. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your time, attention, and trust. We'll talk to you then. Maybe people get obsessed about church media the way that I get obsessed about F1. And then they're like, one episode a week, 30 minutes? I need 6 hours of yap.
Maybe. I haven't heard that feedback, but it's possible that they're out there.
Yeah.
It's possible.
The difference that I have with a podcast for like a hobby versus like work, like I have no interest in listening to a podcast about like anything related to work. And then it's like outside work, I'm like 12 hours about wrestling.
I can fit that in.
F1, sure. Not just work. It's not anything of substance. Like there's a podcast that I listen to and it's all about like, world events. And it's like an hour a week. And I'm like, ugh, serious? Ooh, nothingness. I guess it's all just escapism.